Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. I am Lisa. I'm the creator of This Pilgrim Life, and I'm really excited today to kick off my series on Instant Pot for beginners. I have been using an Instant Pot for a few years now, maybe even 4 years at this point. I've had, I want to say 6 different Instant Pots. I don't currently own 6, but I've owned several different models. I am an Instant Pot expert. I even wrote a cookbook that just came out earlier this year on the Instant Pot. So suffice it to say, I love my Instant Pot. And I'm excited to share with you all the ins and outs of the Instant Pot, starting with taking it out of the box, going over the most commonly used buttons, what you need to know about pressure cooking in your Instant Pot, talking about best accessories, most frequently asked questions. We're going to cover all the important things in this series. So make sure you click subscribe so you'll get notifications when new videos come out. I will just go ahead and let you know that I'm going to save all of these videos as well as some other recipe videos that you will want to check out into an Instant Pot for Beginners playlist on my channel. So you can make a note of that. It'll be really easy to find all of the videos if you are watching this later on and not when I'm putting them out. Then everything will be all together in one place, so it'll be really easy for you to find everything that you need. My goal with this video series is that you will feel comfortable and confident using your Instant Pot. If you have had an Instant Pot for a while and you've been scared to take it out of the box or scared to put it to use, first of all, know that you're not alone. This is a very common thing that I hear from people, but also I want you to feel ready to take the plunge into Instant Pot cooking because it really doesn't have to be that difficult. And I am here to help you with that. So in addition to all of these videos, you can also find me on Facebook. I do live cooking demos and daily on Instagram, where I use my Instant Pot all of the time in making my meals and sharing them in Instagram stories. Okay, so there's gonna be a lot that I wanna share with you, but the first thing I wanna do is just take the Instant Pot out of the box. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna show you everything that your Instant Pot comes with, kind of talk to you about what you do need and what you don't need, what can become bath toys, and so on. Okay, let's go ahead and get this thing out of the box. Okay, the first thing in the box is your user manual. Don't throw this away. Make sure you at least give it a quick flip through. It does have some really important information in it, and it's always good to just acquaint yourself with the Instant Pot and their own best tips and user practices. You've got your power cord, and this is really nice. I really like the Instant Pots where the power cord is detachable. It makes it really easy to carry your Instant Pot from one place to another. And if you are storing your Instant Pot, you're not leaving it on your counter all the time, you can also just tuck this away inside. Okay, here it is. So for this video, I went ahead and I bought an Instant Pot Duo Nova. It's a 7-in-1 Instant Pot, but it's a little bit different than just the regular Duo. I found this at Target. It was on sale for a really great price. I'm going to, during the course of this video, show you different models though. I have several different ones, but for right now, I'm just unboxing this Duo Nova. Even if the screen or the panel looks a little bit differently than the model of Instant Pot that you have, the basic rules and the basic functions are going to be the same, even if you have to push a different button. Okay, so my Instant Pot comes with a red sealing ring in addition to the clear sealing ring on the inside. And the sealing ring is essential for your pot to be able to come to pressure. So you always want to make sure that this is in place, fitted in this little groove here. The really nice thing about having a different colored sealing ring is that you can use different rings for different purposes. So you may want to leave your clear ring in all of the time to use with most of your like dinners and savory dishes, and then set aside a colored ring for desserts. Or I like to use my colored ring. I have another red one that I have in my kitchen already, and I use my red one exclusively for making tea in my Instant Pot. You can, if your Instant Pot that you already own did not come with an extra colored sealing ring, I will be covering this in my favorite accessories, but you can order Instant Pot brand colored rings that are really nice to have on hand. And as always with all of these videos, I will leave every link down below so that you can easily find them. Okay, so this is the lid of your Instant Pot. You want to make sure that you're really careful with it. You don't want to bang it around or dent it up, because it could, if you get dents in it or things like that, you could hinder it functioning properly. Your Instant Pot also comes with this little plastic drip catch, and this is going to attach to the back of your Instant Pot. But basically, it's just kind of like a condensation catcher. Sometimes if your Instant Pot kind of foams out a little bit, it's going to collect on the back. So you want to make sure that this is in place on the back of your Instant Pot so that you don't end up with a mess behind your pot that you don't know unless you're moving your pot around. Anyway, just keep this attached. And then you can occasionally take it off to clean it. It's not something that you're gonna need to clean all the time, but you will want to just dump it out and rinse it out occasionally. The Instant Pot also comes with a trivet, and depending on the model and the year that you bought your Instant Pot, your trivet is gonna look a little bit differently. I have several different ones. Some of them the rings are closer together, but basically this is going to be really helpful anytime you're doing pot-in-pot cooking, which means that you're using a cooking dish inside of your Instant Pot while you cook, or if you're making hard-boiled eggs, or you have something like a piece of meat that you don't want to rest on the bottom of the pot, then you can set it on this trivet and it will go inside. It's got these little feet on the bottom that will elevate whatever you have on there slightly above the heating element. The last thing that I have here in my box is just my stainless steel insert, which it's interesting that this one, I just bought this one, and it doesn't come with any of the plastic measuring cups or spoons or things that my Instant Pots that I've bought before have come with. Maybe they've decided that most people aren't really using them, so they've kind of cut down on that. But the Instant Pots in the past have had a little plastic measuring spoon, or a little plastic measuring cup, a rice paddle and spoon and things like that. But this one does not, and that's a-okay with me because honestly, I never use them anyway. Your stainless steel insert is really nice. It's super easy to clean, and I'm going to go over, I keep mentioning cleaning things. I'm going to have a video dedicated specifically just to cleaning your Instant Pot. So I'm not going to talk about it right now, but this is your insert that you're going to want to make sure you have in your pot at all times. I like to store it right in here, and that way whenever I am ready to start cooking, I don't run into accidentally pouring in my ingredients without my pot inside, because if you did that, you can see your heating element is right at the bottom. You never want to pour in food or water or anything without your insert in your pot, just like this. You could end up damaging the heating element. So best thing to do is just store your pot inside your Instant Pot all the time. Now, this is a stainless steel insert. You can also buy non-stick inserts, and I know some people really like those. In the 4 years that I've been using my Instant Pot, I really just love the stainless steel, and I've had no reason to try anything else, but that is definitely under the category of personal preference. Okay, so that's everything that the Instant Pot comes with right out of the box. Now let's go ahead and start talking about some of the most used buttons and the things that you really need to know when it comes to getting started with your Instant Pot and putting it to use right away. Okay, so let's talk about the most used buttons on your Instant Pot and the 5 things that you need to know to get started. I have all of this information that I'm going to talk about right now in a little printable reference sheet, and I will include a link down below in the video description so that you can print this off As you're getting started with your Instant Pot, having something like this on hand would be really helpful just to kind of remember some of the things that I'm going to talk about right now. If you want to read everything that I'm talking about right now, that is also on my blog. So I know everybody learns in different ways. So if you want to kind of get a refresher course or maybe look over it, save it for future reference, I will link that post down below. Okay, so let's start with the 5 most important rules for you to know when you are using a pressure cooker, which is what I use my Instant Pot for 95% of the time. The first thing when it comes to pressure cooking that you need to know is that you need a thin liquid for your Instant Pot to come to pressure. So anytime you're cooking food under pressure, it has to have a thin liquid because that's how your Instant Pot is going to build pressure. So that can be water or some sort of stock or vegetable broth. It could be wine. There's a lot of different thin liquids that you could potentially use. Those are the most common, but just know that you have to have enough of it to build pressure. Generally, you want to have about a ½ cup of thin liquid anytime you're cooking under pressure. Now, some recipes you might see are written a little bit differently so that they're taking into account maybe the liquid that your meat is going to give off. Like if I'm cooking chicken breasts, I know they're going to give off a lot of liquid, or vegetables. That can be taken into account when a recipe is written. So just know basically the general rule is at least a ½ cup. When you're using a larger Instant Pot like the 8-quart, you want to bump that up to closer to 1 cup of thin liquid. The next thing that everybody wants to know about when it comes to using your Instant Pot is what is a quick release and what is a natural release. Every recipe that you read is going to say either to quick release the pressure or to let your pressure naturally release. So this is a really important thing to know. So when you bring your Instant Pot up to pressure when it's cooking, you'll notice on your pot that your float valve, which is this little button on your Instant Pot lid, is going to come up. And that's going to be your indicator that your Instant Pot has come to pressure. When your cook time is complete, and we're going to talk about calculating cook time and all of that in a minute, but when your cook time is complete and your Instant Pot lets the timer go off, it'll have an alarm on it. Then it's at that point that you can either quick release or naturally release the pressure. Basically what that means is either you're going to release the pressure manually by pushing a button or moving your knob from sealing to venting, and that's a quick release. Your pressure, all of that steam is going to shoot out, and I will demonstrate this in a minute when I show you a really simple recipe to wrap up this video. But basically, you just want to make sure when you quick release the pressure that your hand and your arm, any kind of thing, is going to be out of the way, the path of the steam. So if you are, some people like to use a spoon or something for this. I just like to use my hand. Just make sure you keep your arm out of the path of the steam. And so that's a quick release. And then a natural release is when you let your pressure naturally release. Your timer goes off, your cook time is complete, and you don't do anything. And that pressure is going to gradually release. Generally speaking, this can take anywhere between 10 minutes or up to 20 minutes. It really just depends on the volume that you have in your pot. The more liquid you have in your pot, the more contents you've cooked under pressure, the longer it's going to take that natural release to take place. You'll know that your natural release is finished or your quick release, either one. You'll know that the pressure is released because your float pin will drop down, and that will signal to you that you are now safe to open the lid. Your Instant Pot comes with a lot of different safety features. One of them is that you cannot physically open the lid when it's under pressure. But once your pin drops, you'll know that you can turn your lid and open it and check on whatever food you have inside. So I'm going to be covering a lot more particulars in detail as we move along this series. But I just want to spend another moment talking about a quick release versus a natural release. There's some basic principles that are helpful to learn when you are cooking, just so that maybe you're experimenting or you're trying to do something on your own. It's helpful to know when to quick release and when to natural release. Basically, you want to quick release anytime you have food in your pot that could potentially overcook by letting it sit. This is especially important anytime you cook pasta in your Instant Pot. It's important anytime you're cooking just vegetables, whether you're steaming them or cooking them under pressure. Generally, you don't want to just let your vegetables sit and let the pressure naturally release, because your vegetables will overcook or get mushy. Same with your pasta. So those are the times that you would want to quick release your pressure. And then the times that you would want to naturally release the pressure, just let it release on its own, would be when you're cooking large pieces of meat, roasts or whole chickens, things like that, because that force of the pressure releasing out of the Instant Pot is going to dry out your meat. So the general rule of thumb is when you have meat cooking in your Instant Pot, you want to let it naturally release. As with every rule, there are times when I would break this rule, and you see it reflected in some of my recipes. But for the most part, if I have meat in my Instant Pot, I'm gonna let it naturally release for at least 10 minutes. So that brings up another point. You can do a mix of natural and quick release. A lot of recipes will say to let it naturally release for 10 minutes and then quick release or manually release the remaining pressure. That gives most of the pressure a time to get out, and then you're just letting the remaining pressure release a little bit more quickly than letting it release naturally the whole time. A few other times that you wouldn't want to use the quick release option is when you're cooking beans or oatmeal, things that tend to get foamy, because if you quick release the pressure on those, one, you're affecting the overall cook time. A lot of times that time that your food takes to release the pressure is calculated in the overall cook time. But also with things like dried beans that you're cooking or oatmeal, those foamy things, if you quick release the pressure, in addition to all of the steam and pressure coming out, you're gonna get all that foam and it's gonna be a big mess. So don't quick release beans, oatmeal, or meat. So I mentioned cook time a few different times. The third thing that you want to know when you are getting started with your Instant Pot is how to calculate your overall cook time. I know a lot of times people will get their Instant Pot and they think, oh, this is instant, it's gonna be so fast. Something says that it only has to cook for 5 minutes under pressure, and then 20 minutes later, they're wondering why their food isn't done. So you have to take into account a few different things when you're trying to plan your meal and figure out what the overall cook time is going to be. So basically there's three components when it comes to calculating your cook time. The first component is the time it takes your pot to come to pressure. The second one is the time that it takes to cook under pressure. And then the third is the time it takes to release the pressure, either via a quick release or a natural release. You would want to take into account all three of those times when you're planning how long it's going to take your food to finish cooking. I'm going to share some estimates, but these are estimates. The more that you use your Instant Pot, you'll be able to kind of predict how long things take. But generally, most recipes are going to take anywhere between 5 to 15 minutes to come to pressure. If I'm making honey ginger carrots in my 6-quart Instant Pot, and I have, let's say, like 5 carrots diced up, some honey in there, and a little bit of water, it's not going to take a very long time for my Instant Pot to come to pressure. And then I'm only going to cook them for about 3 minutes under pressure. So that's maybe 5 minutes to come to pressure, 3 minutes under pressure, and then I'm going to quick release those carrots because I don't want them to be too mushy. So that's maybe another 5 minutes. So you're looking at like a total of, at the most, 13 minutes, usually a little bit less for those. On the other hand, last night I made a giant batch of chicken stock. My pot was completely full. I had my chicken carcass in there, my vegetables, and then it was full of water. that much volume in my Instant Pot is gonna take at least 30 minutes to come to pressure. I cooked it for an hour under pressure, and then I'll usually let the pressure naturally release with my chicken stock. Sometimes if I'm in a hurry, I will quick release it. But even with that, because my pot is so full, a quick release on chicken stock could still take almost 20 minutes. So like I said, the more that you get used to cooking in your Instant Pot, the more that you'll be able to calculate the cook time, the overall cook time more accurately. To sum it up, give yourself about 10 minutes to come to pressure, whatever your cook time is, and then either 5 to 15 minutes to release pressure, and you'll have a general idea of how long it's going to take your food to cook. Okay, the fourth thing that you want to know when it comes to cooking in your Instant Pot is what the word deglaze means, because you're going to see this word everywhere. I'm not the only one who uses it. Anytime you saute vegetables or you brown meat or anything like that in your Instant Pot, before you start cooking under pressure, you're going to be told to deglaze the pot before you put your lid on and set your cook time. And all that means is you're going to use your spoon, you're going to add in your thin liquid that I mentioned, and then use your spoon or your spatula to scrape up anything that's stuck on the bottom of your pot. And this is a really important step that you don't want to skip, because if you do have food that's stuck on the bottom of your pot, your Instant Pot safety features are going to kick on, and they're going to think that something is burning, and you're going to get the dreaded burn message. A lot of times I just do this with all the ingredients in. You can kind of maneuver it around, you can feel for it. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but don't forget to deglaze before you start pressure cooking. Okay, and the fifth must-know rule. This is just something that's really helpful to know, because people want to know all about calculating cook time again, and also cooking from frozen. So there's two basic things that I want to share with you about cooking from frozen and calculating your cook time. The first thing is, when you cook from frozen, you're basically going to need to add extra time to that first initial time of how long it's going to take your pot to come to pressure. Generally speaking, I only add about 5 extra minutes of time to my cook time when I'm cooking something from frozen, because I know that it's going to thaw and heat up during that pre-cook time when my pot is building pressure and trying to come to pressure. So I know it's going to take a little bit longer to come to pressure. I add a little extra time under pressure and then let the pressure either quick release or naturally release. The second thing I want to share with you about calculating your cook time is that you determine your cook time by the size of your meat, not the quantity. And basically what that means is, if I have 4 chicken breasts sitting in the bottom of my Instant Pot, I'm going to determine the time that I cook my chicken breasts based on the fact that they are whole chicken breasts. So it's going to be about 10 minutes under pressure. If I were to cut those chicken breasts up before I put them in my pot, maybe I cut them into 1-inch pieces, then even though I still have the same amount of chicken, it's in smaller pieces, so those pieces are going to take less time to cook, so I can reduce the cook time down to 5 or 6 minutes. Now that we've gone over the 5 most important rules for you to get started with your Instant Pot, let's go over the 5 most important buttons. And then to wrap up this video, I'm just going to show you a super quick recipe in your Instant Pot, just to kind of go through some of these things. And then, like I've already mentioned, I'm going to be continuing this series, so make sure you stick around and check out the remaining videos that are going to come. So I have 2 different Instant Pot models here. This is the Duo Plus and this is the Ultra. And I mentioned this at the beginning of the video. Even though the screens and the interface looks a little bit different, this one has buttons, this one has a little click wheel, you're still basically doing the same things. Also on this little printable right here on the bottom are your 5 most used buttons. And I've been using my Instant Pot for 4 years now, and I'm still only using the same buttons. The Instant Pot does come with several different presets, but basically all of these do is just have a set time for cooking rice. You're still cooking under pressure, it just already has that time calculated in. I prefer, and I know a lot of Instant Pot users prefer, to just set their own times and use the manual or pressure cook button. So let's talk about that manual or pressure cook button. Depending on when you got your Instant Pot and what model Instant Pot you have, it will either say pressure cook or a lot of the older models say manual, but it's doing the same thing. That's basically your pressure cook button. The 5 most important buttons that you will use over and over again is the saute button, the pressure cook button, the yogurt button, the pressure level, or some Instant Pots will say adjust, and then the cancel button. And the same is true on the Instant Pot Ultra, which this is my favorite model and my favorite model to recommend. So I definitely wanted to show this one as well. So instead of buttons on the Ultra, it just has this little display, and you use the click wheel to select which feature you want. So the majority of the time, I am using pressure cook or starting with saute. One of the biggest perks and advantages of the Instant Pot is that you can saute your vegetables or brown your meat before you start cooking. You don't have to brown something on the stovetop first. You can do it right in the Instant Pot. And that's a really handy feature because you're gonna get a better tasting, better looking end result. Another one of the most used buttons is the yogurt button, and I do have a recipe on the blog with a printable that takes you through the 10 simple steps to making Instant Pot yogurt. This is something that I've been doing for years, but whether or not you actually want to make yogurt, the yogurt button is still really handy because you can proof bread in it. I have a recipe to make 1 hour focaccia bread, and it starts in the Instant Pot, and the Instant Pot is basically just giving you a warm environment that will speed up that initial rise time on your bread. So like I said, even if you're not planning on making yogurt, you still might find yourself using the yogurt button. Another important button is the pressure level or adjust button, and this button lets you switch between high and low pressure. So you see here, it says high. If I push the pressure level button, I can switch it to low. And then the last button that is important to note is the cancel or keep warm button. On some models, this is one button. On this Duo Plus, it's actually 2 separate buttons, but this is just going to cancel. You can use it when you are sauteing. You're gonna hit cancel and then select your pressure cook if you're gonna switch to pressure cooking, or if you just want to turn it off, you can hit cancel. If you just want to use your Instant Pot to keep something warm, then of course you can use the keep warm button. So those are the most important, most used buttons on the Instant Pots. Okay guys, I hope that this video has been a helpful first part introduction to getting to know your Instant Pot. I'm gonna wrap everything up by showing you a really simple recipe. It's gonna demonstrate just some of those important things that I talked about earlier and show you how easy it can be to use your Instant Pot. So I'm gonna be making some ramen noodles in my Instant Pot. I developed this recipe over the course of this past year and I love it. I make it all the time. I'm actually gonna be eating it for lunch when I finish shooting this video. So let's just go ahead and I'll take you through the steps of making ramen noodles in your Instant Pot. You can find the recipe linked down below. I'm sure you're gonna wanna check it out. Okay, so as always, make sure that your pot is in your Instant Pot when you get started. I'm gonna add one of these little ramen cakes, and I found this at Whole Foods, but you can also order it online. I'm just gonna add that right to the bottom of my pot. Now, like I said before, you always need a thin liquid to cook in your Instant Pot, and this time I'm gonna be using some chicken stock. Now, this is the chicken stock that I made yesterday in my Instant Pot. Believe me when I say that my Instant Pots get a lot of use in my kitchen. Okay, so in addition to the chicken stock, I'm also going to add a teaspoon of sesame oil. just going to put on my lid. And one good rule of thumb to remember when you are putting on your lid is that you're going to place your lid on at about 10 o'clock and then turn it to 12 o'clock. Now, if I was using my 8-quart, I would want to change my valve right here from venting to sealing so that my pot could come to pressure. Depending on which model you have, you either need to do this manually, or if you have a newer model like my Ultra, it will automatically seal. I don't have to change anything. And then this little float pin right here will come up when it reaches pressure, and that will be my indicator to know that my Instant Pot has come to pressure and that my cook time should start really soon. The next step is to set my cook time. So I'm going to select pressure cook. I'm going to push it in, select 1 minute on high pressure. And you can see right here it says high pressure. You want to always make sure that it says the right pressure setting. Most of the time that's going to be high. And then I'm going to push start. So whenever your cook time starts, when it's building pressure, your screen will say on. And then once your pot reaches pressure, your countdown timer will start. In this case, it's just gonna say 1 minute when it reaches pressure. And then at that point, it will switch and it will start to count up. And that will let you know how long it has been since your food finished cooking. As soon as my Instant Pot comes to pressure, cooks for 1 minute, I'm gonna do an immediate quick release, and I will show you that in just a moment. Okay, my cook time is finished. I quick released the pressure and my ramen noodles are done. This is such a great recipe for just a really quick lunch or even an afternoon snack, because really the whole thing can be done in about 10 minutes. Well, that's it for episode number 1 of the Instant Pot for Beginners series. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget that you can check out the Instant Pot for Beginners playlist down below. I'm going to be adding a lot of easy recipe videos like this Instant Pot ramen noodles. You can also use the link in the video description to check out some of the information that I shared today, including the 5 must-know Instant Pot rules and the 5 must-use buttons, and this handy little reference sheet. You can also find a link down below for my Instant Pot cookbook. This is my own personal copy, so it is definitely a little worn, but there are 76 awesome Instant Pot recipes for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, desserts, everything in this cookbook. Check it out, use the link down below, and I will see you guys next time.